NXT TakeOver 31. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Raj Giri, and making his triumphant return to the show, Matt Morgan. Mr. Morgan, the Blueprint, how are you feeling?
Better. I was in the hospital. I had food poisoning.
Oh, good Lord.
And honestly, we're still waiting on my, not to be completely gross with everybody, but still sample to get returned to tell us what type of food poisoning it is.
Jeez.
Because if it's like salmonella, which the doctor thinks it is, it lasts longer than normally. If you get food poisoning, you just throw up like I did. It goes away, generally speaking, in a couple of days, sometimes 3 days. But this is something that's been killing my stomach for like a week, maybe.
Wow.
But these last 2 days, since I've been on the medicines they gave me, I've been much, much, much better. And I had to go back to the emergency room to get an IV bag put in me because it dehydrates the crap out of you.
Yeah, no,
Quite
absolutely.
Literally.
Yes. Do you have any idea what the culprit was?
I don't want to blame a certain franchise fast food chain that I shouldn't have been eating at.
Wow.
Because my coach is watching this, and I don't cheat on my diet, and I did here, and this is a lesson learned on not to do it ever again. But I don't know that though.
It was
I really
Arby's.
don't.
It was Arby's, wasn't it?
Poor Arby's.
Oh man, Arby's, that was for fast food. That was always like my shame eating of fast food. And fast food is shameful overall, but something about Arby's.
5 roast beef sandwiches for $5. It was a good deal.
Pile on the melted cheddar cheese and the horsey sauce and the Arby's sauce and be hating myself. That's why I had to stop eating meat. Like, because just Arby's, man. The stuff. And curly fries. Curly fries sound like such a good idea, and then you finish them and you're just like, what have I done? Who am I? I don't even know myself
Hardee's, and they had curly fries back when I was in high school.
When curly fries were new.
That was my introduction. I haven't had those in like 20 years.
We lived through the introduction of hip hop, the internet, and curly fries. I think we've seen some shit.
No.
But regardless, good to have you back, Matt. I
Thanks.
hate to say it, this curly fry discussion might be more interesting than much of what we saw on TakeOver tonight. Your opening thoughts, Matt.
What I shared with you guys when we first called, I was disappointed. It was very boring. I hate saying that. Like, NXT is the top 2 show for me. But this was, and a lot of it's the main event, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
That main event was very well executed, though, as far as in-ring wrestling goes. Telling a story, psychology. It was all there. But I would have went the opposite route with this. Because Kyle O'Reilly is the BJJ guy, I would have let him. There's no way on God's green earth Finn Balor should have been out mat wrestling him. No. That is his thing. That is O'Reilly's gimmick. That's his deal. I would not have done that if I was Kyle O'Reilly. I would have said, yep, I get you're the champ, but by the same token, this is my thing. This would be like me getting in a ring with another wrestler that's 5'10" who wants to start doing tackle spots with me and me having to bump and feed for this guy. Like, no, brother, I'm the giant here. You're the little guy, and we're going to continue to do that. But it doesn't mean Finn Balor shouldn't be able to wrestle with him either. But what I mean by this is I would have had Finn running. I would have had him doing and creating the action and the movement of this match that it desperately needed. Desperately. Yeah. This match needed movement. And I would have used Finn's athleticism to create it. And then when you want to slow it down and do things like that, then fine. Then let O'Reilly take back over and out wrestle him on the mat, but more importantly, be able to get out of everything. He should have been able, in my opinion, if you wanted to shine him properly, there shouldn't have been anything that Finn Balor could have had for him that he could not get out of. Again, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert. That's the name of the game, is being able to fight up from your back. And when somebody's on top of you, grounding and pounding you and doing whatever, it's your ability to get out of that. It's super impressive. I'm always impressed by BJJ guys because I would just wig out. As soon as I get hit in the face, that's it. Game over. I'm losing my bleep and whatever. I wouldn't have the patience that these guys have. So I would have told that story and created the movement much more with Finn Balor.
Yeah. I mean, and the wrestling was great tonight. I think the booking, no titles changed hands. I mean, I felt like this would have been a very, very good episode of NXT on Wednesday, what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I just felt like it was hard to care. Like, when I'm watching these matches, and I'm like, they're doing everything they should be. It's a great match, but I do not care. I don't care who wins. Kyle O'Reilly is not... at that level yet where you're deeply invested in him as a character.
I did want to see him win for what it's worth. But I think his character takes a hit here because they made it seem like he was going to win.
Yeah.
Too much.
And that was the thing. I wanted him to win and Adam Cole turn on him. So you have a storyline. Like something big happened.
Ooh,
you know, something interesting. Ridge Holland coming in just dumping Adam Cole.
Everybody's talking about Ridge Holland.
My wife goes, "Who's the dude with the sweet vest?" I go,
it was like,
waiter?
yeah, it's like the waiter, like he forgot something. It is what it kind of felt like. It just didn't connect.
That is the definition. Wrestling fans, you ever hear wrestlers on there from various podcasts? They talk about a fart in church. That's the definition of it. What you witness at the end of the NXT tonight, or a stabbing after a shooting.
Right. I feel like NXT, like Timothy Thatcher was one of those. Like they really made it seem like Timothy Thatcher was a big deal, but it just didn't. He hasn't connected with the audience.
You have to have charisma at some point. At some point, yes. you could tell people that they're a big deal, but at some, people know who is. Karrion Kross was, right? Yes. People cared about that match with Keith Lee because both those guys.
Well, and like you said, okay, so I mean, here's what we're up against. 6 weeks ago, Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. So Keith goes over to Raw. Kross is out with an injury. Think about before that, we had NXT TakeOver in Your House. We got Halloween Havoc, which is not going to be a pay-per-view, but that's going to be a Wednesday show. Is that correct? Or is that going to be a pay-per-view?
Did they say it was a Wednesday?
Who cares? What's your point, though? What's your point?
Well, my point is this felt like, so if you tell, and it is going to be a Wednesday because I'm seeing Wednesday, October 28th. I believe that was the date. But that feels more to me. That feels like a pay-per-view. TakeOver 30 felt like a pay-per-view. In Your House felt like a pay-per-view. This just felt like great talent, having great matches.
Yeah, but on a TV show.
Yeah, this is a transitional time for NXT, and I hate to say that, but look, Bianca Belair's gone. Mia Yim's gone. Mercedes Martinez is gone.
Yeah, if this was any roster, if this was SmackDown, let's say Raw, let's say even any show, I don't care. I would say, okay, yes, they would have bare, what's the old saying, bare cupboard, so to speak, left over, right? Not NXT. NXT is a pipeline. It is a factory of turning out stud after stud after stud after stud wrestler, both female and male. So that's their fault for not having these talents ready. Yeah. And Finn Balor is a former Universal Champion. So
the first Universal Champion.
He technically should be able to carry the load just fine. Do you know what I mean?
Although, if you would have told me 6 months ago that the NXT title match at a TakeOver in 6 months was going to be Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly, it's probably what I would have expected tonight. It's going to be a great match. They're both great competitors, but unless the storyline is riveting, I don't see this being an all-time classic main event. It was a very, very, very good match. But even at the end, with Finn raising Kyle's hand, he went the distance. This was more about Ridge Holland attacking Adam Cole with the story. I felt like they did more with that setup there. There was more heat with that end tag than there was with the build to tonight between Kyle and Finn. And that's not a great thing.
No, okay.
It felt like Kyle was done after this match was over. Like he was a temporary, quick, just giving something for Finn to do, and now they're moving on. And it wasn't like a real push of someone, Real quick, Kranishaw with the $2 super chat saying, "Hope all is well, Matt."
Unabomber Burns calling you your favorite to be referred to. Said, "Glad to have you back, Morgan."
Thank you.
So it's like he's your football coach.
Jason Scabarra's saying, "I agree with Raj. I thought the same with O'Reilly winning and a cold turn. A lot of the show I struggled with. My care factor meter was quite low today." And I think, I thought that was the problem with it. Kranishaw also saying, "Happy to see Ember back and Tony coming to NXT. We'll get to that. Women's roster is stacked. Best women's roster NXT has. And Halloween Havoc returning." Those were all
positives.
Honestly, I wish Halloween Havoc was returning for the main roster.
Thanks for bringing those up to that viewer. There were positives here. There definitely were. But overall, you always go with your main event. That's your lasting impression on the show you just watched, especially a match that goes that long. So that's why we're a little negative. I'm just being a little negative on it, I should say. But yeah, there's some good parts, and we'll get to it as we go through the show.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about tonight. Justin Lopez, do we get his $5 super chat? I agree, Matt. I thought Finn got too much offense, and to the point I thought Kyle O'Reilly was going to win. The finish was basic and anticlimactic.
Justin, it wasn't just that he got too much offense. It was he was out mat wrestling, and the one thing that Kyle O'Reilly is supposed to be able to do better than anybody, they took it from him. No. There's 1,000 other ways Finn could have beaten him. Not out wrestling him on the mat.
I got to bring this up. Super Elite saying, Rob says he wants fresh and new thing, but only idea he gives is the same old thing. Turn on your guy, turn on your teammate. That's stale and been done a million times. It's how you do it.
Well, hey, I just want to point out.
They say there's 7 plots in movies, right? Like boy meets girl, enemies, whatever.
Yeah. It's the 3 man versus man versus nature, man versus himself.
Right. It's how you do it. I mean, Roman versus Jay has been fantastic because of how they've done it.
And I want to point this out about Raj repeating the same critiques. 4 years I've been doing this podcast. I've been hearing Raj say they need to bring back Great American Bash and Halloween Havoc, and you're welcome.
Right. That is true. I do want Halloween Havoc back for the main roster just because.
But come on, Shotzi Blackheart's going to host it. And I love that she was all over the promo. This is going to be so good.
That'll
be
work.
So good.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
I'm going to watch. I don't even have to watch Wednesday nights. I'm going to watch Halloween Havoc. It's going to be awesome.
Midnight Toker is saying this takeover had no build. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I had to remind myself what the matches were tonight. Except for the Adam Cole match.
And they started off hot.
The Finn Balor match.
So they started off hot in 2 ways. One, we're at the Capitol Wrestling Center, which is the new name for the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. They gave it a bit of an overhaul, a revamp. We've got Thunderdome-style screens around the ring. We had fans there in pods. We had commentary doubles tonight, at least for 2 of the 3 commentators.
That was the weirdest thing.
It was weird.
They look nothing like Beth Phoenix and Wade Barrett. One of them looked like Sasha Banks, the commentary stunt double, and then the other one was just a regular white dude. It was so weird.
Well, at least it was still the commentary team, that we were accustomed to hearing, which was good. But no, what did you think of the Capitol Wrestling Center, man?
Why are they calling it that?
That's a throwback.
Yeah, Vince Senior's. The original company that WWF was WWF at the time was Capitol Wrestling Corporation, and so it's kind of an homage to Vince Senior.
Oh, okay.
And then that became Titan. Vince bought it, turned it into Titan Sports, which is now just WWE.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it looked better than Full Sail, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that it's different. It's a good look. Full Sail was getting kind of played out. I don't know. So Bear Hudson $10 is saying, I disagree. I love the pay-per-view and the new look in the arena, plus the return of Ember Moon and Toni Storm. It's so easy to bash NXT. They're going through transition with Keith Lee gone and a lot of talent leaving. And I agree with that. And NXT has this problem.
But that's ongoing. That's all.
And that's not their fault. I mean, well, 1, injuries happen, and 2, no. I mean, it's got to be frustrating for Triple H to be like, Vince can just raid my talent at any time.
Yes, it must be frustrating, but I can list so many times NXT's history that we saw stud after stud after stud come into that place and then leave. And guess what happened? Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn showed up. And then when they left, guess what happened? Then the next people showed up. So
right.
I don't buy that with this brand, because this is a stacked as bleep brand. I argue more than Raw and SmackDown even. I know that sounds crazy, but it's my second favorite show, if not my first favorite show.
But they've had some dips. I mean, like when Bayley left, there was a bit of a dip in the women's division. When Asuka left, they've had to rebuild.
Talent's fault. That is their
I know.
fault. That is their Raiders' fault.
Yes.
For not getting this stuff, not getting these talents ready. Instead of just bringing in a guy from the Indies like Samoa Joe out of left field, and or Nakamura or whomever, Bobby Roode, and all these awesome surprises, EC3, all these surprises they kept being able to stack the deck with. You guys got to create your own too.
No,
because
I know.
Not that many of them out there still.
They're running out of people that they could just bring in, because you're absolutely right, Matt. They would, Nakamura, when he was done, then it was Samoa Joe and then Bobby Roode. Mm-hmm. Like they kept rotating that field, and now when people are under long-term contracts now, you don't have that same pool that you can really pull these guys from. you got to build your own stars. And if you're just anyone that's getting over is being sent to the main roster, well, that's your own doing.
And they can do it because they do it with the women's division, Glenn. So they can do it.
No, I agree. And, you know, it's funny. I always make the SNL comparison with NXT, but there was a time in the early 2000s where NBC tried to have it in the contract for SNL that if you get over on SNL, NBC can take you off of SNL and just put you on a sitcom. And Lorne Michaels put his foot down and was like, no, you're not rating my cast to spin them off into stuff in their network. Like, we need to keep consistency and strength because it takes so long to build up these stars. And once we have them, we need them. I think Triple H needs to do the same. But I would also argue this.
NXT is not a priority, though. We always got to remember that. It gets a third of the audience of Raw.
I know. It's the fourth rated of the major wrestling shows.
It's the least watched wrestling show of the two major brands.
Yes.
Well, call me a dumb mark because it's like my favorite of the WWE shows. So the SmackDown is right on its heels for me.
For me, it's the least.
With Roman's storyline.
I prefer Raw over NXT personally, just because NXT just
really
dreary. It's dark. The look is just so. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
It's just. I mean, we all have our personal preferences, but NXT is just not. I prefer AEW over NXT by a mile, and then you know, SmackDown and AEW. Usually, it's between those two for me. Usually, most weeks.
But let me also make a comparison.
SmackDown is really good.
Let me make a comparison to something here. When you're starving for good wrestling content, and NXT is 1 hour a week on the network, and their takeovers. We're takeovers 4 times a year. You're starving for content. Somebody throws you, you know, you're starving for food. Someone throws you a cracker, and you're like, oh, this is the best cracker I've ever had in my life. This is so good. But then you eat those crackers for 2 hours a week on the USA Network. Takeovers every other month. And to quote Eddie Murphy, these are just regular old crackers. After a while, it's not as special anymore. Matt Morgan just got what I was referring to. Matt Morgan just got what I was referring to. But it's true, though. NXT used to be so special and so rare, and now we live in this indie-rific world where AEW is killing it every week. Former NXT stars have gone to Raw and SmackDown. I would argue NXT has succeeded in its mission. NXT has actually changed professional wrestling by taking that indie style of wrestling and putting it on a major scale.
And giving it a showcase. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, but the problem is now, how do they keep reinventing and topping themselves? And there's going to come a time, and we've seen this. We've covered, of the takeovers, we've covered probably 20 of the takeovers on this podcast, and there have been dips.
I don't know, because I don't think there'll ever be a day where Vince is going to let Hunter put his foot down and keep, you know, like Keith Lee at NXT or keep Samoa Joe at NXT. Although, in retrospect, I'll be honest, I think that would have been good to keep Joe, Nakamura, Rude. Can you imagine what that roster would look like right now? Those talents we saw tonight.
They're not doing anything on the main roster.
Wouldn't even get dark matches on that card.
Yeah. Caden,
I'm sorry, I was going to say Midnight Toker with Super Chat saying the takeover had no build. That's the other thing. This felt just sort of arbitrary. Like, I guess we'll do a takeover.
Yeah, Caden saying, did Raj just say Raw is better? I find it easier to watch. I don't think it's better. Raw is
easier to watch? 3 hours with the Raw Underground?
NXT has no stars. It's just...
With Retribution? Raw is easier to watch?
Yeah.
Raw hurts. Like, it hurts my soul.
Oh, look. So does NXT. NXT is a bunch of guys with no charisma for the most part, outside of Adam Cole.
You know, Matt, maybe it's not such a...
That are doing their moves, which is great. You go do your moves. But as far as interesting storylines and characters, there are none on NXT. They had it with Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. That was about it for this whole year.
You know, Matt, maybe it's not such a bad thing if Ross doesn't want to do this podcast that much.
This is why I don't do the Wednesday podcast. Because I don't like NXT. I was trying to get Justin to do tonight. He couldn't do it.
That's great. I love. Could you imagine if you went to a comedy show or a concert and the person you came to see came out and was like, if I could have got someone else to be here and take my place, I wouldn't be here. That's why I'm here, because no one else would show up.
Oh,
think about that, audience. Spaceman 584, first time, long time. Thank you, Spaceman.
Thank you.
That's what I love to hear.
Thank you.
No, but look, tonight wasn't bad. It's just I've made this analogy before. It's the least nice mansion in a very fancy neighborhood. It's still a mansion.
Has anybody made this is true. Has anyone made a super chat to do the first match yet?
No, I was having to channel you.
We should probably start the show
because you're out for the week. Lots of who cares? Move on, and responses of why would you ask that question? Next, perfecting it, man. Perfecting it. We actually started hot tonight. Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest for the NXT North American title.
This was good, Raj.
Yeah.
Raj, what was your heat with this? This was really good.
I like Damian Priest. I'm bored of Johnny Gargano.
Okay, let me ask you a question because you're talking about charisma. Do you think Gargano has not been shown charisma lately?
No, he seems like your goofy friend that you know what I mean? Like just the guy that'll drive you around and you kind of pick on him. I don't know. Not that I pick on him, but
I hope actually high school kids and friends are watching this.
I went to high school with a dude that I swear to God looked and acted just like Johnny Gargano. And yes, he was not cool.
He doesn't come across a larger than life stars. These people, I know some people right now in the chat are losing their minds over what I'm saying, but let me know who comes across as a larger than life character and larger than life star, and then we'll talk.
Well,
but
yeah, by the way,
Johnny Gargano is not one of them.
And I knew my Johnny Gargano-esque friend was not cool because he was hanging out with me. That's how I knew he wasn't cool.
Yeah, someone I'd be friends with.
Priest.
Priest
screams money. He screams main event money.
Priest is he's gonna be the Baron Corbin on the main roster, where Vince is gonna keep giving him. He's gonna keep him in the mix. He's got the look. Awesome. He's got the size. He's gonna be kept in that top.
I'll be honest. I haven't been feeling the Gargano heel turn. But tonight was my first. I like this. I like this match a lot. I did. I thought this was good.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the match. I thought every match tonight was good or great. Again, it comes down to stories and characters. And as far as stories and characters, if you watch, me growing up, Hogan, Andre, Undertaker, Rock, Austin. When that was what you became a fan of, and this is what you're watching now, it's just not the same.
I think I've told you guys this, and it's crazy because I'm a former wrestler. You think this would not happen to me because of the fact I grew up and was trained the right way on work a body part in the match, tell the story, go back to that body part, make it a part of your finish if you could, and really try to create, art out there, if you will, right? Working with psychology in every single match and setting it up with promos and have larger than life personas. Right. This is all true. By the same token, though, there's so much of me over the last few years when I watch these shows now and I see the way wrestling is going. There's part of me that wants to be the old bitter wrestler going, these kids don't know how to work. What the hell are they doing? They're going to kill themselves out there. But there's a bigger percentage of me, I'll argue now, that watches this and the athleticism of it. And I just sit back and go, okay, so they're not going to be doing my kind of wrestling that I was trained on working a body part, working a hold, and telling a story, a shine, a heat spot, or cutoff rather, the heat, a babyface comeback, false finish, finish. That's just not necessarily how it's done today. It's much more right to the guts of it and super athletic. And I've found myself being conditioned as a fan watching it now and almost being okay with it and being super impressed by the athleticism. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying, and I think if wrestling was still popular, like if it was bringing in, and granted, we can't compare the viewership now to what it was in the Attitude Era. Viewing habits have changed and everything, but when something's popular and it's not. If wrestling was a big deal, if it was mainstream, what's that?
But that's not. We're not saying. I'm not making the argument on. Is this style going to draw money or not? I'm just saying Matt Morgan has the mark watching it at home on television. Yeah. The fan in me watching. My fandom has changed on how I watch the wrestling with today's wrestling, I think. Right. And I'm okay more times than not. And again, the wrestler in me doesn't want to admit this, but it's true. And it's watching today's wrestling and these athletes go 100 miles an hour out there and do all this crazy shit I could never do athletically, and being like, holy crap, did you see that? You know, when I watch it,
I just feel like the audience keeps decreasing and decreasing. So you're catering more and more to.
Can I give you an analogy? Here's a good analogy for sports fans. The Golden State Warriors, they changed the game of basketball. Steph Curry doesn't get enough credit for this, and he should. He changed the game of basketball with you do not have to have a center in order to have a dominating NBA championship team. If you can get shooters out there that can shoot the piss out of the ball, you can win a championship now. You could have undersized, super duper tiny, scrawny, short guys now. But if they could shoot the ball, that is the craze of the league right now. There's no defense being played. It's just a late, type of phantom defense being played. It's all offense. It's all shooting now. Now there's NBA purists that are like, where's the defense? Where's the block shots? Where's the big center in there? Where's the power forward? There's no such thing as a power forward today. They're called stretch forward. They shoot threes now. It's evolved. And I feel like wrestling's done the same thing here, and for better or for worse.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think if we saw the numbers, if we saw the good wrestling is what's drawing, I'd just be like, this is just not my product anymore, and I'll move on. But we still, it's always still has been storylines and characters.
I roll throw up.
All right. Alan Can. This is
$5 Canadian.
Rod, you're out to lunch regarding Raw being better than NXT. I will throw up. Raw did 1.8 million viewers this past week. I think NXT did like 692,000.
Yeah, but come on, bro. 1 million are people that just forgot to change the channel after NCIS or SVU.
If Raw moved to Tuesday night on 1 week, it would still be doing at least double to triple of what NXT does. Wait, what? You're saying?
No, I'm kidding. Jesus. You're not on this podcast enough, Raj. You know when to pick up my sarcasm.
Steve Marchulli, $4.99 super chat. Is Tony Storm the next Charlotte? Ridge could be Brock's Euro bro. Yeah, his Euro bro from inside of a friggin' Wild Wild West saloon with that sweet vest he was rocking tonight. Good Lord, that was terrible. I can't get past that. I don't know why. That should not be my lasting impression. Was why is this dude wearing this vest and my wife saying it in my head over and over and over again.
Is it a response to Adam Page?
Tony Storm, real quick though.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think the world of her. I think she was a star the minute we saw her on the very first, Mae Young Classic, right?
Yeah.
She's a badass and she's an amazing wrestler. She's got a great look. Her promos are good. Raj said it. He's probably right. She'll be pulled to the main roster. I bet you shorter versus not. Sooner versus not.
She's a superstar in the making.
I think to that point, I think what's going to help Damian Priest is that I think Damian Priest is too much like Roman in his look and aura that Vince might not want to have someone on the main roster that confuses that. Which so good for Damian.
Keep them on opposite shows for sure, though. Keep them on opposite shows.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dizzy Drew, $4.99. If only Mauro Ranallo was there, the show would have had more charisma. Seems like the show's missing him. He does bring the energy. Mauro makes it seem like everything is the most incredible thing he's ever seen.
The World Series, it's like Game 7 of the World Series. Every time he calls something, I agree. I like Mauro. I like it. I like watching him.
Yeah. But I do like Wade Barrett too. I feel like he.
Wade is good. He definitely is. I'd like to see both of them somehow.
Right. Yeah.
And I like what's her name?
Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix. She's good.
Yeah, she's gotten so much better. She used to be so bad when she was on Mixed Match Challenge, and she has gotten so good.
She's a hard worker, dude. I got to tell you, she worked at that.
Joni Sean Jenkins with the super chat wants to know what's the average amount of obscure analogies that I use on each podcast, and it's 3.
At least.
Bear Hudson, $10, saying I compare NXT to going to a local metal band and having a more intimate and edgier feeling. I really think that Santos Escobar is a legit star in the making. Kushida's another star that's been injured. I mean, it does have that. I've always compared it. It did feel like indie bands, and then when NXT guys would go up to the main roster, it would feel like when an indie band got signed, and became popular. Now everybody knew about it.
It was like when ECW guys would go to WCW or WWF, and then you're like, oh, they worked here. Sandman was cool in ECW, but he doesn't fit, on the big stage, and a lot of these guys don't.
Antoine Fair, $5, saying NBA with the fix to extend the NBA Finals. Sorry, carry on. Thank you, Antoine.
Oh, did the Lakers lose?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't be hating on LeBron.
I love LeBron.
Ethan Kaufman, $5. Where do you guys think Tessa Blanchard ends up, or she possibly signed and they're holding off on her to the Royal Rumble, or is that too long of a wait?
I don't know. Raj is the guy with all the headlines.
I don't think WWE sees Tessa the way internet fans see Tessa. I mean, when there's a lot of these guys that when they get signed, people are just assuming, like Matt Riddle was one, that they're going to be pushed to the moon. But WWE, they have their own system. I don't see them.
I think what supersedes this with her is her name, though, don't you, Raj? Like, you can't flub that up. You can't bring her on and call her Cindy Johnson. Do you think they do?
I mean, you have your Bo Dallases and, all these guys that have come from famous wrestling families.
No, that's a good call.
So
it's not.
I mean,
not every single
Rachel
one of
Ellering,
Mike McGillicuddy.
Yeah.
It's
Axel. Yeah.
We talked about this before, but some people in the chat are saying Damian doesn't look like Roman Reigns. I don't think it's that they look identical. We've talked about before. They have a similar swagger and energy. I think Damian was doing kind of like heel Roman before heel Roman was.
I'll give it to you. You can put both of them on the front cover of a romance novel. It would sell the hell out. And the guys want to be them because they're badasses. It could kick anyone's ass in a fight. It's the long hair.
The vibe, the energy
they both give off.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is like what Nash used to have back in the day too. It's just that, guys want to be them and girls want to be with them.
Yeah, it's like the Viking Raiders and Heavy Machinery. Similar vibe. Am I saying they look alike? No, but I'm saying they've got enough, like the Goldberg Stone Cold comparison. You hear about that bald guy with an attitude in wrestling, and pick which one you like. That's who everyone's talking about. So, Damian Priest won this match over Gargano, retained the North American title. What do you do with Gargano? He's like an NXT lifer at this point.
He is never getting called up, and he'll be a babyface again, and they'll run through a few cycles of it. Yeah, and that will be his career. Yeah, I think he's where he should be, honestly.
It's kind of like the Dolph Ziggler of NXT in a lot of ways. Just kind of always there. You could always count on him. He's going to, have good matches. And
I like him there, honestly. I did not want him being called up because I wanted him to continue to get opportunities. And NXT gives him the best opportunity to have those opportunities.
Yeah. So, after that, we had Kashida versus Velveteen Dream. Kashida doing the Marty McFly thing. Ugh. Velveteen Dream dressing as Doc Brown. Matt.
Okay, normally Velveteen is doing wrestling that I think is corny. I always think his stuff he does is awesome. I did not feel this one tonight. Again, the match itself, though, was very good. Velveteen's by far and away 1,000 times bigger of a star. So, Raj, there's one with boatloads of charisma, and I always get the sense that this is a big star. WWE, I just don't know what they're doing with him. They feel like they've watered him down, or like they've if he was on fire, they threw water on him, it feels like, with how they've been booking him and who they've been booking him with.
Well, I think if you listen to the WINC Daily, there might be a little more insight into why that's the case.
Oh.
He's had some issues.
Well, tell me what, I don't know. Well, issues. Why is he even there?
Which is a lot of the fans have issues with. There have been some allegations. They're deemed as very credible. Certainly the fan base takes them very credible. Now, Hunter said, like I know him, Triple H said on a conference call that they looked into it, but the teenagers that made the allegations and accusations said they were never contacted by WWE. So I think it's...
wait, slow down. You need to rewind. Okay, I don't mean to make an anecdote here, but you got to explain this just really quickly. What am I missing? Because I don't read wrestling stuff.
Raj, you're a journalist. I turn this over to you.
I don't have all the stuff in front of me because I don't want to get any of it wrong. But there have been accusations against Velveteen Dream in the past. We contacted WWE. I contacted them multiple times. They never issued any statement. So a lot of the accusations that were out there, like Matt Riddle, they sent us a statement saying, we're looking into this. It's serious. We're doing whatever. Velveteen Dream, they never did. With a couple, I think it was Glenn. It's been multiple young kids.
It was a few 16 and 17-year-olds, I believe, who said that he was inappropriately texting or messaging them or DMing them. Yeah. Again, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm being very general with my understanding.
Right. I don't think
there
was anything physical. I think it was all over social media.
But
it was with
right.
underage.
I see what you're saying. So whatever he's done here, you think that affects how they've been booking him?
But it's interesting though, because despite this, you could also argue with Matt Riddle kind of the same thing. It's like, despite this, you would think,
and Austin Theory as well. There was also
that's true. So WWE's playbook used to be, if someone were accused of something, credibly accused of something, they would just take them off the air until this was investigated. I think some people were even suspended briefly. I want to say Adam Rose maybe was suspended, then released. That's again a totally different situation.
Not Adam Rose, no.
No, but why was he?
That was a different thing. That was a domestic.
Yeah, it was different. But bottom line,
I got you guys. So I see what you're saying. Okay, I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah. So it's tough, right? Because I think it's definitely affected how the fans see him, and I think anyone that knows this story, at the very least, has questions. And WWE, I do not think
has. Again, he hasn't been proven guilty. There have been no
absolutely.
Charges. So.
Well, and they're lucky that these aren't live fans in there either, right? Because this.
Well, and that's what Justin Lopez says with his super chat. So it's hard for him to get behind him with all the crap that's out there. I was curious to see the reaction in the beginning if we had crowds. And again, to Roger's point, we don't know. Yeah. We don't know. Granted, when people are posting screenshots and scrolling up video recordings of them showing the messages, it's hard to cast doubt at a certain point. But I think the way WWE has handled it is very odd given the current climate we're in. And I'm a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty, but I think that the fact that they didn't contact the people making the allegations, that's a little weird. And I think that's actually why the fans are most angry.
We are also taking their word at it that WWE
absolutely
didn't contact them. So
absolutely. It's just weird. Honestly, it makes me not want to cover, and I've talked about this before. It's like, I think with Matt Riddle, with the Velveteen Dream, it's tough. With Austin Theory, it's tough to really,
But we have seen in the past there are also false accusations out there in the past with other
of course
guys,
there are.
So.
Yeah. So it's just it makes it a little awkward with him getting these matches.
We don't got to talk about it anymore. I just needed the explanation of what you guys were talking about. I had no idea.
But here's my thing with this match, away from all that. Back to the Future cosplay is not, when I'm talking about larger than life characters and larger than life wrestling. That's not what I think of when I think of superstars. If Hogan and Andre were dressed as Doc Brown and or Rocky Balboa and Drago, they would just be like, they wouldn't do that. If you're stars, you don't need to be somebody else.
Don't you remember Macho Man's 6 Sailor Moon cosplay that he did back in the 90s?
When Rey Mysterio, when he would do the Spider-Man thing, he would do it for one match just as part of his outfit, but it wasn't like he was trying to be Spider-Man. I just think when you're trying to be, a movie character, you're not being yourself. It's like your gimmick sucks so much that you have to be somebody else.
Well, and it's also weird. I remember when Alexa was doing the Harley Quinn thing and they were even calling that on commentary.
Right, yeah.
But granted,
the same thing with that.
But remember, Becky Lynch lifted her look from Mad Max Fury Road, like the look that she got over with and became a superstar with.
But it wasn't so over. Like she wasn't being that character. Like
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's tough.
He might as well come out to the Back to the Future theme.
Well, that would be an improvement, actually.
It would actually. It would be better.
Now, would you say the Back to the Future orchestral theme or Huey Lewis and the News Power of Love? See, I would think I'd be torn. I would alternate it between that. I'd do that for the pay-per-views, Power of Love for the weekly show.
Yeah, Power of Love.
Great song.
A fantastic song. Huey Lewis and the News
Go
does not
Johnny
get
Go
enough
Go.
credit. You mean Johnny Be Good?
Michael J. Fox skating down the skateboard at the beginning of the movie was Power of Love.
Yeah. Why doesn't Kashida have a hoverboard?
He's got the
honestly,
shoes.
I Guys, no offense, I couldn't care any less about Kashida. I'm just being honest. I know a lot of fans dig him. I don't know what I'm missing with him. I just don't care about him at all.
Yeah, same.
So, after the match, Kushida
and they're trying to play it like Kushida's now a badass or something. He's still just dressed like Marty McFly, and he's supposed to be this like he cares so much to dress like Marty McFly, and he's supposed to be this dangerous badass all of a sudden. It's like,
hey, just don't call him chicken, and everything will be fine. I love the trilogy. That is the most forced feeling shit in the entire trilogy. It's nowhere in the first movie. They added it for the second and third, and it's my only gripe with the film series.
No, they filmed the second and third together.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the whole Marty, don't call Marty chicken thing,
right.
That was nowhere to be found in the first movie. It's a lame character development, is the only flaw in an otherwise perfect trilogy.
What's the lazy reason for him to lose his bleep?
Yeah, I know, but it just feels
need him to.
So forced.
So Elizabeth Shue, I got a quick story if you guys want to hear it.
Yes,
so
I'm
one of
listening.
the advertising companies we work with, they've been trying to get us on for a while. So I'm talking to him for a while, and then I'm like, oh, he's like, my name's Andrew, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, you're Andrew Shue. You were the star of Melrose Place.
Found her do something.
And he's like, yeah. And so later I found out that he's Elizabeth Shue's brother. And, Elizabeth Shue from Back to the Future, Karate Kid. And he was actually in Karate Kid. Mm-hmm. Andrew Shue. He was one of the Cobra Kais. So,
hey,
not a great story. I didn't say it was a good story.
Listen, chat room. Please tell me, chat room, you're telling Raj like I'm about to, that he's already told us this.
Yeah, I know, like you told the story before.
Andrew Shue.
I know the story.
True story.
Yeah. But I pay attention. The finish of that story needs to change that you've met her in person or you got an autograph.
And then he hooked me up with Elizabeth Shue and we're dating.
It's a better ending. JGYE Pez 06 $2 doesn't help Kashida with the hoverboard lock. Yeah, really all in on this one. Garland Jones $5, first time, long time, huge fan. Thank you, Garland.
Thank you.
No, so Kashida beating up Velveteen after this was I thought good. So Kashida, maybe this is a heel turn. Velveteen, maybe they're using this to write him off with a kayfabe injury for a while. Yeah, we'll see what happens. NXT Cruiserweight title match, Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Santos Escobar. Santos retaining here. And who interfered in this match?
That dude who cut a pretty decent promo, I thought. He can be a good promo.
Santos is got like a cool look and everything. They're going to kill him on the main roster. He's going to be Andrade on the main roster.
Oh, yeah.
So, real quick, this match itself, tell them who won, did you say?
Santos.
Okay, so real quick. P.S. His arm was broken. Swerve Scott broke his arm. Did you watch that? Where he took his knee and put it behind his elbow and went boom and snapped it. You can't come back from that. That wasn't like, at least a dislocation. Like, this is what I mean. And I just got done. I'm totally sounding like a hypocrite now because I just got done saying I love the high-paced athleticism of today's younger wrestlers. I do. But this is where they lose me a little bit, is in the finishers. When they get to the false finishers and the finishers, because in my opinion, you go back and watch this match to the fans in the chat room. Watch Santos's finisher on Swerve Scott and watch Swerve Scott's last three moves going into his big false finish before that. His looked like a real definitive finish of the match. The way he broke Homeboy's arm and then punted him square in the forehead, essentially, and then hit him with a finisher. That should have won the match. Whereas Santos's finisher did not feel like a finisher to me. I was expecting Swerve to kick out of it. And I don't know if they miscommunicated or whatever he did, but Swerve Scott did not hit that mallet, that part of the post either. He completely whiffed and missed that by a mile. And so we were supposed to believe that he got knocked out at the end of the match. Therefore, any finisher would finish him off. Yes, if his head actually hit. I would have called an audible. As the heel in that match, I would have called an audible and said, you're eating a chokeslam. Sorry. Something. That's a definitive finish because your head did not hit that piece. And that referee would have gotten buzzed by the truck to tell us that. So I'm very surprised the truck did not buzz them and tell them, guys, do something else, because he whiffed. His head did not hit anything on that ring apron.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Hector Torres pointing out it was Ashanti the Adonis who interfered in the match.
Oh, yeah. He attacked Mendoza and Mild.
And he's a potential good promo. I liked his promo tonight. There was flashes of it. I'm like, this kid could be a really good promo.
Carmine Vittorio.
You mean with Scott, right?
No,
Adonis.
it was right after this match. He cut a promo afterwards, and it was real. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, if Santos Escobar gets called to the main roster, there's an opening in the Lucha House Party.
Ugh.
Is there? I haven't watched SmackDown yet.
Is there? I don't. But that's the point, though, right? It's like if he gets called to the main roster, he's going to be like, that's one way it could go, or he's going to be in segments with Andrade and Angel Garza.
No question.
And it's it's because the way that they book other current and former luchadors in the on the main roster.
English. Yes.
Yeah, and it's terrible. Yes. It's terrible. He should stay in NXT as long as possible.
Yeah.
Carmine Vittorio, Canadian $10, saying never miss a podcast. Usually unable to watch live, but glad I can tonight. I think Candice should have won tonight. I think she could be a huge star in the main roster. Glad to see Ember and Tony back.
Agree.
I agree with everything you said.
You think Candice and Johnny maybe get drafted?
He's going to hold her down. No offense, Johnny.
I got to bring this up. Alonzo Smith saying... sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
Alonzo Smith saying, Raj saying Santos Escobar would be like Andrade on Raw is messed up. There's room for as many WWE superstars of color as possible. Of course, I would love to see that. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about reality.
Alonzo, come on, Alonzo. You know what he's saying. He's saying this is the way events in that company continually book these talents the same damn way. And until they prove us different, it's not just us. This is what everybody thinks because they book them the same way over and
in
over
the same
over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's like the Hurt Business facing Ricochet and Cedric and Apollo every week. All the Latin American superstars
Nakamura, as far as how Japanese talents get booked by WWE, at time after time after time after time after time. I thought for sure, there's no way they can mess this up. No way. He's too big of a rock star. Not even Vince can screw this one up, right?
Yep.
Couldn't resist. He couldn't resist.
At least he's not exclusively in a feud with Akira Tozawa, because I mean, it seems like every other
everyone else by a shark a couple weeks ago in his back.
Don't say it too loudly.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like that, and that's what we're talking about, Alonzo. It's not about us saying there can only be so many of a certain type or certain look or certain background, but Vince does tend to group them together.
Yeah.
Putting them in the same damn box that they don't need to be in because they're way more talented. They've got different charisma, they have different characters, different life stories. There's no reason for them to be put in these same boxes that they continue to put these talents in because of their ethnicity or their look or whatever have you. It's super annoying.
Yeah, Angel Garza and Andrade are different characters. They're not, and they got clumped together just based on their ethnicity. Because Angel Garza's got that cocky...
has showed us time and time again this.
Yeah.
Yes. Superman 584 buck 99.
Wish that wasn't true.
No, I agree. It's just Spaceman 584 buck 99 saying for the Pierce Cheers favorite COVID podcast.
Cheers.
And James Curtis asking, do you think if the creative from NXT did SD Raw, they would have a better product?
No.
Creative from NXT did.
What's the great storyline going on in NXT right now where you're like,
but they have had good ones in the past, right? And it's been the same team.
But so is SmackDown. Wrong? I mean, I think the Roman stuff right now is better than anything on any show. AEW, Raw, SmackDown.
I agree. I agree with that. But NXT's had good storylines. They just haven't had them in the men's division recently. I think some of the women's...
Cross and Keith Lee was good, but outside of that, I can't think of any other really good ones this year.
This year, yes. Okay. Yeah. But in the past, tons.
Yeah. So, after that, we had the NXT women's title match. Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai, with Io Shirai retaining.
Stupid.
If they're not going to give it to Candice, I think she is going to get called to the main roster. It feels like.
Seriously, because what the hell does she have to do to be the champion there already? Seriously. Like, Shirai is amazing, but Candice can do so much more with that title, in my opinion. She's doing a very good job being a heel. I didn't think she could do that originally, too, to be honest, because I've seen her on the indies for years, being such a great babyface that everybody always likes, the Spitfire babyface that fights from underneath. She does a good job at that. So, to her credit, she's done a great job as a heel, and she's only going to continue to grow. And there's something about her that makes you constantly watch whatever the hell it is she's doing. I mean, I was watching one of the segments that she had Johnny in, where they were changed a light bulb or something stupid like that in one of the segments. I never would have watched that, but I did because she was in it. So, like, he'll hold her back, in my opinion. They cannot book them together on the main roster. To that person said it earlier in the chat room, if should they be called up together, I think he would hold her down a little bit. I think she's the whole deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think Io Shirai is she's great in the ring.
Yeah,
I mean she's
had her
probably
time.
The best women's wrestler that they have. But
but she doesn't need the title.
She doesn't need the title. And I think Candice LeRae can use
they could do something interesting with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's got character, she's got charisma. You know, this heel turn when I was saying Johnny Gargano, I don't really care. I'm not feeling it. It just feels.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem dangerous or anything to me. But Candice LeRae, I think she can go somewhere.
Yes.
Alonso's saying there's nothing left for Gargano, I would say to an extent, Candice in NXT, but saying he doesn't think NXT is going to be a part of the draft. Wasn't there something today that suggested that? I could have sworn someone on Twitter tweeted
the draft
something.
They said it was on Raw and SmackDown. They announced it.
It is on Raw and SmackDown, but it doesn't mean NXT talent's off limits.
Well, then why wouldn't they include NXT? You know, why wouldn't they?
Because no one's getting drafted to NXT.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they'll get some talents from NXT, but yeah, I don't think anyone's going to NXT.
Tammy's saying Candice booked no different than Bianca, should have been champ, multiple title matches, never won. That's interesting. I thought this was a very good match tonight.
Bianca, though, I feel like we'll see. I mean, again, you just never know. They can botch stuff up all the time. But Bianca with these vignettes, I think they're doing a good job with them. Like these Mr. Perfect vignettes that she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying. I just need to see them execute it now.
Right, exactly.
But I think Io's been good. I guess it's just a question of like, what's the long-term plan? Is she going to be the dominant champ for a while?
She's not going to get any better. You know what I mean? Like she's already great. She's either move her to the main roster or, I mean, is she basically like a coach there now? I mean, at some point, she's got to move. She's not getting any better. She's already at the peak of what she can do.
Well, after this match, and I thought this was very good. I mean, this continued the tradition of excellent women's matches in NXT period, and especially TakeOver. And then after, like, just to further kind of rub it in the world's face how good the NXT women's division is, Toni Storm appeared, congratulated Shirai, said she wants everyone to have their head on a swivel because now Storm is back in NXT. And then you think, oh, that was the big thing they've been teasing. No, then we see the motorcycle outside, the night vision, and Ember Moon making her return to NXT, staring at the ring. So it looks like maybe she's going to get into it with Io Shirai now. So, I mean, I just think, I tweeted like best women's roster in modern wrestling. I think the women in NXT, it's the best roster period in wrestling, men or women. It's just so stacked, and they book it consistently.
There's not one thing wrong with what you just said.
And they do something with the women that no other company does. They give us meaningful women's storylines without a title involved. Raw and SmackDown.
So this is what I was saying earlier. They do have the discipline and the ability to write. So this is what I don't understand. Why can't they do this on the men's side?
I mean, my theory about it is I think that, Raj, remember the stories that came out a few years ago? I think like Tom Castiello and a couple people were saying like when you're a new writer in WWE, they give you you start off writing for the women's. Tom Castiello? Is that who I'm thinking of? The former soap opera writer that went to
Okay.
Who do you ever
WWE. Funny. Yeah, Tom Casiello.
Okay.
But no, I think he said, I think it was from him that I picked this up, that when new writers start, they start you with the women's division because it's kind of seen as it's not as desirable of a gig.
It's
If
like-
you screw it up, what's the
it's
big
like
deal?
practice.
Again, yeah, that's how they see it. So I think part of the reason is, man, I think whoever's got a lock on the NXT women's division, there's not a lot of competition for that, where I bet you Road Dogg and HBK and Triple H, I bet you a lot of people are butting heads about who should be the NXT men's champ and the directions they should go with some of those storylines there. I think the women not being as a sought after gig has allowed it actually to flourish.
Well, so Road Dogg is writing for NXT?
He's doing some stuff in NXT.
Yeah.
That's huge. I've always been a huge market of him, his creative. If you leave him alone and let him do his own stuff, like he is, I used to love when he used to agent my matches, because he wouldn't just agent my matches. He would tell me like little things to do in my entrance or looks to give the hard camera at a certain time in the match. Like things, not just mechanically, that he was supposed to let us know what we're doing for our finishes. He's so creative. He is so forward thinking. I did not know he was actually writing for NXT. I thought he was still with SmackDown.
Well, and when Road Dogg and Ryan Ward were running SmackDown, that was fantastic for like a good year period there.
Who else is writing in NXT that could be holding Brian down or something? Because he really is. I'm not just BSing you guys. He really is that good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Road Dogg, Shawn Michaels is part of the creative.
It's pretty impressive. Jesus.
Yeah.
HBK. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very involved.
Coach. I didn't know he was helping in the creative process. That's cool.
Yeah, he's got a big hand in it.
God, these kids, I am so damn jealous of that. My developmental experience was nothing like that.
So Nightmare Knees chiming in with what we were talking about earlier with a $5 super chat to say that he agrees the booking is very segregated on the main roster. Didn't watch TakeOver, just wanted to chime in. And I didn't want to use that word because I know it's a very charged word, but I would say, yes, they definitely separate a lot of talent into feuds.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Instead of like spread the wealth, you have all these differences that it creates people's different backgrounds just automatically on paper. Create.
It's like when Humberto Carrillo teamed with Dominic a couple of weeks ago. Like they've had nothing in storyline other than sharing the same ethnicity, and all of a sudden, they're just teaming up. So.
And I always make this comparison, but I want it to feel like I'm playing a fighting game. And when you play a fighting game, you know what's hella boring? When it's a bunch of characters that all have a similar look, similar moveset. It tends to get more repetitive. I think it's very interesting when you see people from different backgrounds, different fighting styles. Some over the top, some subdued. That's what makes interesting matchups. We had Santos Escobar and company battling Breezango on NXT. With Drake Maverick. That was a pretty good match. I think
even tonight, for example, versus Swerve Scott, for example.
Yeah.
In the cruiserweight, that was a great mesh of different styles.
Yeah, and in fighting, diversity, I mean that in the truest sense of the word, diversity of styles, cultures, looks, all of that diversity is what makes it interesting. It's the reason we got into UFC originally in the 90s. Who is the ultimate fighter? What's the ultimate fighting style? And I think when you put guys that have similar backgrounds, similar looks together, it just kind of seems a little less special and more repetitive.
It's just lazy.
Well, I mean, there's that too. And again, I don't want to get too into how much is that as Vince and or Pritchard, but yeah, it's just it's not
it's like every African American is in that the Hurt Business versus Ricochet, that feud, and
we've definitely illustrated this point. I mean, seriously, it's the truth.
JGYE Pez 06 $2 saying WWE and AEW trying to outdo each other with Joshi talent.
I will argue WWE's done a better job with that said Joshi talent.
I was gonna say like AEW, just other than Hikaru Shida and Riho.
Look how long it took. Like even Riho, no disrespect to her, I never ever felt her ever. I just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your mama for one, you bleep. Saying I think Io's the best female wrestler in the world. Io's really good.
That
but
picture was disturbing.
But there's nothing wrong with what he just said, though. I mean, that's a hard argument to make against what he just said. She's nasty. She's freaking awesome.
And
I don't think she needs a title, though.
Yeah, Phil Capel saying I really thought Candice would win and Io goes to Raw.
Okay.
Midnight Toker, $5 asking where's Ciampa?
Maybe he's in the next segment. No?
There's a next segment?
I see
Are
what
we
you did
still
there.
early in the show?
No, there's one more segment left. One more. And that's the main event, which we talked about early on. Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor for the NXT title match. And, this was a great match. Fantastic display of talent and strength and moves. But what we're all talking about is the fact that Ridge Holland beat up Adam Cole after, right? And the whole world is whispering the name Ridge Holland.
I'm not.
All the kids talking about Ridge Holland.
I'm not. I got nothing for you with this. Just the match itself, like I said earlier, I would have went in a completely different direction with this, especially if you wanted to get him over a little bit more in this match. Again, you don't let a wrestler come in there and just completely steal all of his strengths from him. That's what I was watching. And I was like, what do we do? I don't know. And not to take anything away from Finn, because I loved the fact that Finn was working the midsection. I did like that. I just did not. I don't know. I just thought he should be able to get out of anything anything Finn put him in. I just felt like they should have automatically, continuously made him get out of immediately. And that would make him look like more of a badass and play to his strengths, especially if he was losing. So he lost the match tonight, plus was outdone, per se, on the mat. Like, again, I go back to my example I gave you guys earlier. AJ Styles trying to shoot me off the ropes and give me big boots and crap. You know what I mean? Like, no.
He's powerbombing you all over the place.
Yeah, no, AJ. Just like your music says, it's time to fly, little man.
In some ways, I almost felt like this was a bad match in the sense that the action was great and whatever.
The action was terrible. The action was slow. That's the problem.
This was my point, is that it didn't get you a really good match. Would get you cheering for the guy that's the babyface, right? Like the underdog.
Yeah. All right.
Whether it's a football game, whatever. When you're watching it and you find yourself cheering the underdog or finding yourself going for a team, I never got that with Kyle O'Reilly in this match. I wasn't like, I really want him to win.
I did, because he was such an underdog, meaning and not the way they booked him, but in real life, that he's like the second guy in this group. That that everybody all considers them all a mishmash of one, if you will. Doesn't stand out that much. Here's an opportunity for him. And even Wade Barrett said it tonight even. And it was like, so the shoot part of this was intriguing to me. But the storyline, if it makes sense, wasn't. Right. And no offense to Finn. I usually love all Finn stuff. I just don't know what it is since he's been in NXT. I ain't feeling him.
I feel like the Demon,
and I don't want to say that I'm like as big as Mark, like for like the Demon especially, right?
Yeah. And
I hate saying this,
but it's missing. We got no Demon anymore. You want to watch a series about Bruce Wayne? How's that sound?
Ooh,
not that great.
that was a good analogy.
So the Adventures of Peter Parker.
So to the smart ass in the chat room earlier, that was a very good analogy Glenn just gave us.
Tony Mattresson saying, you guys find any way to crap on WWE? Yeah, especially since we just talked about how Roman is the best storyline in wrestling. But all right, whatever, buddy.
Raj has been salty tonight. It's good.
And P.S. When you say that, it doesn't make me do it any less. Stop wasting your money. How about that one?
No. Okay, so and another thing, Alonzo Smith saying, leave it to NXT to end TakeOver with a cliffhanger. They got to stop doing the copyright notice. Oh, the show's over. No, it's not. Like, okay, guys.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too, but you can't do it every TakeOver.
It's only been like twice.
Oh, they've done this a lot. They've done this too much now.
They did it when DIY broke up. and then this,
which was
And the main
awesome.
roster.
That
Which
was
was
awesome.
It's like I'm
Okay,
Marvel.
Really quick.
Yeah.
That was an amazingly well-written story right there. The creative on that between those two guys was off the hook. Good.
Yeah. But it's like, remember when Ferris Bueller's Day Off had the scenes going the end credits and then an end credit scene after the credits? It was like, oh my God, that's mind-blowing. Nobody's ever done that before. That was so insane. And now it's like every movie has something in the middle of the credits, at the end of the credits. It's just not as special anymore.
They do it a couple more times, I would say yes.
I do gotta say, we just watched The Hangover the other night. Isn't that is the best credits movie ever, as far as what happens after the credit? With the credits, when they're going through the pictures.
It's definitely up there.
I think
it is hilarious. Those pictures are hilarious.
It just makes the movie. I mean, you leave on such a high note.
Yeah, I almost pissed my pants in the movie theater watching that. Yeah,
wow.
That was pretty funny. That was hilarious because you're not expecting any of that. And the random pictures are just so funny.
So good.
Justin Lopez, $5 saying the Ridge Holland angle only works for me if there was some mastermind who paid him off to attack Cole, i.e. Roddy and Fish, or maybe Balor.
Okay.
Maybe Pat McAfee.
At first, I thought it was Pat McAfee.
I did think it was Pat McAfee at
He
first.
kind of did look like him. But that's good right there, what he just wrote, actually. That would be intriguing.
How often do we say, hey, let's see how this plays out, and it doesn't play out? So
yeah,
we'll see. If it did turn out that way, that would be cool. Like,
and again,
he was a hired gun.
This isn't a bad pay-per-view. I want to make that very clear to people.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just it's
boring.
Another in a series of a company that tends to do fantastic pay-per-views, and occasionally there are some that are just really good. It's just not fantastic. But we expect fantastic, though. It's like you go to your favorite restaurant. Matt, you eat at Arby's, and you think, I'm going to get my pound of roast beef and meat on there and horse sauce. It's going to be great. And then one time you eat there, and it gives you food poisoning. You're still going to go back to Arby's.
Are you?
I don't know after this experience. But seriously, though, because this is, again, my second favorite show, or brand. I love this brand and show. So this was disheartening as a whole. Because I think they're more capable of so much more. Unless, and I could be wrong, every once in a while they do purposely, I know you guys think I'm crazy, put a C pay-per-view out there. NXT, we've not really seen that. With WWE and while I was with TNA even, I remember, we had these, not subplots, but like these less meaningful pay-per-views that we had to do because of a deal with the pay-per-view company or the TV station or whatever have you. I'm trying to think of an excuse, guys, because I don't want to admit that this show sucked. Trust me, I hate it because I love this damn show and I love the roster. That main event, man, that was tough to get through. And it was a really well executed match. It needed some gas to it. There was no gear changes in this match. You need gear changes. And for all you smart asses that are going, oh, you do shit on WWE. The same writer, the person that wrote that, I want you to go look up what gear changing is in a professional wrestling match and get back to me on what that answer is. I'll tell it to you. You don't have to look it up. It's when you shift gears in the match like Kurt Angle would do when he was a heel. If somebody knocked Kurt Angle down, let's say I give Kurt Angle a big boot, he's kicking my ass in the middle of the heat, I shoot him off. He goes to shoot me, I reverse him. He hits the ropes, boom, big boot to the mush. I pin him. 1, 2. He kicks out. Immediately, Kurt would cut me down. Immediately, would drop kick my knees, and then that's it. He'll mount me and start rounding punches in my face. That is gear changing. That's him going from 3rd to 4th to 5th gear where he's irate, he's pissed, and you feel the emotion of it. That creates more action, it creates more excitement, and it makes you get more hooked into the story because they're emoting. All right? In this match tonight, it did not have any gear changes.
Yeah.
Joey Dorjan
That's a great
saying
way to put it, because I never felt like I was getting more and more behind Kyle O'Reilly. Like it was just kind of they're working hard. I get it, but I just never felt emotionally getting, as in most good matches where you find yourself more and more invested, and by the end, then you go to the finish, and I just felt like that never happened.
Joey Dorjan saying it's oversaturated the past 3 shows. I'm assuming he means NXT pay-per-views have been blah. I thought the Great American Bashes they did on TV on Wednesdays were really good when they did the 2 weeks back-to-back around the 4th of July. Like, those were really strong.
That was Keith Lee when he won the title, right?
Yeah, and I think Halloween Havoc is going to be great. But you need, like, a good gimmick. You need, like... This was just NXT TakeOver 31. Think about that for a second.
There's just no build.
We couldn't even give it a name. 30 was cool because it was the 3rd and it was 3 X's. Triple X made me think of Vin Diesel and the Ice Cube franchise. But this 31? Come on.
Midnight Toker, $5 super chat. The Ridge Holland spot should have been Karrion Kross. I would kill for that to have been Karrion Kross. You kidding me?
If it's Adam, if they did it, at least have Adam Cole bloodied or something,
It did seem like
it
a mellow.
seemed like he was like wasted, and Ridge is just bringing him. He's like, "Hey man, your buddy was passed out at the bar." And
what about his shirt being ripped the way it was? What were we supposed to assume happened to him in this attack? I want to see your man breasts. Like what were we supposed to assume by that? It felt lackadaisical. It felt very lackadaisical.
I had just gotten done right before watching TakeOver. Just got done watching Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. Not a good movie to eat or watch while eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with jelly. And I was just kind of like, put this down. But I'm just saying, like, to go for something like that, which is brutal, and then seeing that beatdown that was supposed to be so savage at the end. I mean, he ripped his shirt.
I know.
Yeah.
And which is crazy because that's what I mean by a stabbing after the shooting. Because say what I just said about that main event match, you guys, that's still the lasting shot of Finn, Glenn.
With the blood coming out of his mouth. Finn bloodied from this.
So that's what I'm talking about, that you had your outshot technically. Even though that main event was, you still had that. And then you go to this, the dude just standing there, hi, I'm here with a guy on my shoulder. I'm not saying anything. What's up? Like, that was weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Hardcore Cream Pie saying, he said, show me your lack of chest hair.
Jesus Christ.
Well, that's why he ripped his shirt off, to see the lack of chest hair. Halloween Havoc, perfect time to give us the demon. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. Please, WWE.
Do you remember, Rory Karp? I'm going to name drop a little bit. I'm going to do my Justin
Where do I know
Bar
that name? I know that name.
He made the Ric Flair 30 for 30 documentary.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
So we were tweeting tonight. And do you remember that Halloween Havoc where they built up Jake the Snake versus Sting?
Yes.
And they had to spin the wheel, make the deal, and then it ended up
absolutely.
being the coal miners glove match.
Yes.
That was, like, of all the stips, that was the worst.
It was, but the build up before that I thought was awesome.
Oh yeah, Jake and Sting, you can't go wrong. But they just coal miner's glove.
Yeah. I remember being a little bit scared by that, by the way. Like, there was some
the coal miner's glove match?
No, the people in the bar. They were an unruly looking bunch. They were scary looking, some of them.
There was that one where Abdullah the Butcher was in the electric chair.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
do something cool. It's not just the name, and they have spider webs, and that's
that's what it's going to be. What do you expect more than a huge pumpkin, blow up pumpkin being out there by the entrance?
If they do a pumpkin like they would do with Gallows every year, the pumpkin on the head.
The trick or treat fight.
Street trick or treat fight or whatever.
I'll tell you the branding of this, the promo of this, the fact that Shotzi Blackheart's going to host it. It's a regular episode of NXT. This could be really, really, really good. And, I hope it's not a letdown.
So, apparently Finn... Okay, so I'm getting some news here.
He went to get his jaw x-rayed?
Yeah, he's getting an x-ray on his jaw. So that was a legit injury.
Damn. Joey Dorjan pointing out, if you look back, NXT's only had 4 pay-per-views this year, but it seems like so many more. I mean, 2 weeks of NXT were Great American Bash.
And those weren't considered pay-per-views, yeah.
Although those were
right,
really good. I mean, I enjoyed those better than tonight. Tonight was good.
Those were just putting something up against AEW because they were doing their Fighter Fest or whatever that was. But
so that was TakeOver tonight. Ridge Holland, everybody. Ridge Holland.
If Ridge Holland was like 6 inches taller, Vince would be pushing him to the moon.
He'd be up right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that. Let me just make this clear. It's not that I think Ridge Holland isn't talented, doesn't have a good look. It just feels like this is a guy that seems to have come reasonably out of nowhere, or just recently, and they're already putting him in this big spot. He was the big go home.
But that's how you build stars too. You gotta.
It is. I do like it sometimes when we can't predict who the next big thing is, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens with him. I can't get past the vest though. For now, hopefully I can.
Yeah. If you're killing somebody in the backstage, you're not wearing a vest. I wouldn't think.
Well, if you're classy,
I guess.
I mean, yeah, he was only missing a top hat.
Yeah, he's a fancy boy. Terrence Whitted, $5. All the Twitch and Cameo stuff going on. Supporting WWE is hard. I agree, more than just that, but yes, that's a big part of it.
So we should bring this up. An exclusive.
We talked about this extensively Friday night, by the way. It was the first half hour of the podcast.
I've not talked about this with Mr. Matt Morgan or myself.
True.
Ye who broke the story.
He's never gonna shut up about that, Matt.
Ye. So I did break the story.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding. Wow. But yes. So I got. So on Friday, it turned out that Vince McMahon sent a letter to talent saying that on Friday they have to cease all their third-party relationships, and their Twitch accounts are now under their ownership, and they will get a cut of the revenue from their Twitch accounts, but it counts against their downside guarantees. So,
for real?
Even if it's under their real name?
Yeah, even if it's under their real name.
Anyone under contract. I mean, I see why, because you're on TV. I put you on TV. I built you into a star on my vehicle. Okay, so I get the reasoning of that. But I'm sorry, by the same token, if that's the case, then what? Are movie directors going to start doing the same thing with anybody that acts on any of their movies? Right. Or TV shows or sitcoms or actions? Come on, you can't do that.
And like AJ Styles, his
so
Twitch
cheap.
channel.
It just feels cheap. It feels so damn cheap.
Especially right now.
AJ Styles, his Twitch channel, I have never heard WWE promote it. Like, that's all been him,
Yes.
And he's had the name AJ Styles before WWE. Xavier Woods with his up, down, down. You don't see that promoted on TV. I mean, maybe a little bit on social media.
So, wait, explain to me how it works for YouTube then. Does that mean like Xavier Woods has to give like part of his up, down, down?
I thought they
right
owned
now
up,
Twitch
down,
and Cameo.
down. I thought WWE had a stake in up, down, down. I thought.
I'm not sure about that. They might.
Yeah, but with Twitch and Cameo,
because
the wrestlers said separate.
The reason I'm asking is because I said it to you when we first started talking about this as a potential thing. Remember, like there's rumors of it a while back, or a few weeks ago, or whatever the hell it was, Raj. Back, and I said like this could be a lot of wrestlers gets the hell out of there if they're not careful with this.
Andrew Yang, he responded to the article that we posted on Wrestling Inc. and he's like,
"Wow, wait for real?"
Yeah, he was on the WINC Daily.
We have an interview with Andrew Yang a couple of weeks ago when the first story broke, and he said he's coming after Vince if the election goes a certain way.
Oh yeah, no, Andrew Yang could be leading the Department of Labor or taking Linda McMahon's spot in the Small Business Administration. There's a very good possibility of that.
I like him. I like him calling them out on this crap.
It's I'll tell you one thing, Matt. We talked about this on Twitter and in the chat. This seems to be a bipartisan issue when it comes to wrestling. Everybody seems to unanimously agree that the situation with WWE needs to be reconciled. They need a union or to join SAG.
Big time. And as an official, I swear to God, I hear it all the time. Mm-hmm. Swear to God.
Did you join SAG when you did your acting work?
Yeah.
There you go.
So is it as soon as you're done with the job, then SAG is cut off, or do you have a period after? You're not with SAG for life.
You have to do a certain amount of work each year and pay dues on that work.
Yes. Okay. And it gives you the ability to say more lines, and you have to hit a certain amount of lines in order to even get it, which is weird because I got it with American Gladiators, ironically, because
it was a network show.
Oh, yeah. Me grunting and growling.
Well, they've done that. There's been some like bullshit since then where reality shows they like to make not SAG applicable, but I think you did that at a time before they carved out those exceptions, which is great. But you did some network stuff as well. You've had some roles. But no, I mean, the way it works though, it's you go a certain number of years and then you qualify for healthcare. Beyond that, you can get a pension, you can get all sorts of stuff. So if WWE got in SAG, that's actually probably the easiest way rather than them having to start their own thing.
Paige had issued a statement on the Wrestling Inc. article exclusively reported by Raj Giri.
Love it.
She wrote, "Twitch is my place, what I built with my wonderful fans, a place where people can go and feel some positivity and a little bit of normalcy, fun, interactive, non-judgmental, charitable place. I'm proud of what I built with my fan base," making it clear that she built it, not...
You could not have said that any better.
Yeah.
I want to go on her Twitch channel right now, and I don't even have Twitch.
Yeah. No, I mean, are they going to take a part of her makeup line? Are they going to ask for a cut of what Sheamus earns working on the docks at night, unloading and loading crates?
Slippery slope, and that's what everyone always gets fearful of when these first steps get taken in anything. That's what freaks everybody out always. And this is a very big first step.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Seriously, man. Just let them get their money. Like, why do you care?
During a pandemic, like
why do you care?
The timing is just like, holy crap. Jim Cornette just had he did a long episode on it. It's on Wrestling Inc., but he thinks that he's hoping that Andrew Yang can do something.
Yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting time. James Curtis is saying with his super chat, the up, down, down merch stores done by WWE. Yeah, I think that was a joint venture or even perhaps something they own. But it's interesting now, though, that Xavier is lobbying to try and become a host on G4 when that comes back. I mean, he could walk away from WWE immediately and
I hope
make
set up that way.
Oh, he could probably make 7 figures just doing. I mean, honestly, like if he went streaming full time, I think he could compete with Ninja and some of these other guys, that are multimillionaires.
They're multimillionaires from playing video games.
You want to know how much Ninja made how much Microsoft paid Ninja to lure him away from Twitch? He got like $30 million for 1 year.
What does he do? He just plays video games online?
Just plays Fortnite.
Oh my God.
One game.
I can't watch other people play games.
I can't either.
I know, because we're from that generation.
I've got to play. You can sit there. You can watch me.
I used to put my quarter up on the arcade machine, and I would just sit there and wait and be like, I got next, bro. I'm not going to sit there and watch you play. Except it was cool when Mortal Kombat came out to watch people that knew how to do all the fatalities.
Yes.
That was
in
cool.
the arcade watching was different, though. They'd sit in your best friend's room watching him play Super Mario or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out because it was a one-player game. And him not dying until Super Macho Man and crap. You're like, dude, I've been here for an hour and a half. This sucks. Yeah. I'm not coming here again.
I'd watch that like when people fight Mike Tyson just to see how to beat him. Not just watching someone play a video game.
I would get bored in a 2-player game, like with Mario Brothers Waiting My Turn. Meanest thing I ever did to my younger brother was I said, while I'm waiting my turn, I was like, dude, there's a special level if you fall down that pit right there. And then he died, and it was my turn.
Way nicer than my brother. He smacked the controller out of my hand, or worse, he'd kick our Nintendo. Oh, malfunction. My turn.
So I got an embarrassing story real quick before I get to this cameo thing, but I was one of the ones that bought the E.T. game on Atari. I made my parents buy it.
The worst game ever made.
And that would, because I could not figure out how to get out of. I mean, it was just you couldn't move in that game. It was terrible. And having one of these, watching watching someone play a game would have been good back then. But anyway.
My thing. Okay, this is maybe like there's very anticlimactic, Raj. I can read how to do something in a game, and that's fine. But I feel like it's cheating if I watch a YouTube video, and then I have to be my wit's end to watch a YouTube video showing me how to do it.
Did you guys play King's Quest?
Yeah,
it was
a PC game. PC game.
No. Yeah, it was a PC game.
But Matt, what were we gonna ask?
When Assassin's Creed came out, then yes, I went on YouTube. And AJ told me you can go on like these YouTube channels and watch on what to go and find stuff. You know what I mean? So like super crazy games like that are wide open and stuff. Then Batman, Arkham Asylum, same thing. I would watch certain levels, but I'm not sitting there like as a mark watching like, oh my God, You know what I mean? I'm doing it so I can further my level. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right. You're not just watching someone just shooting up people.
I tried to
watching how to advance.
I tried to get my wife to sit down with me and watch all of Dragon's Lair, a playthrough on YouTube. And she was like, I don't get it. It's a cartoon. I'm like, no, but it was kind of a game. And she's like, you move the character? I was like, no, you hit a button at the right time or else you died. And that was the game.
Yeah.
But it was like $1. Remember when Dragon's Lair came out? It was the first game that was
Take
50 cents or $1.
James Curtis,
you all are showing your age right now. Hey, I'm going to watch Perfect Strangers after this. Don't be ridiculous.
It's all in HD on Hulu. Hulu has it all in HD quality remastered.
All right. So back to that Twitch story. So I actually saw the letter. So he sent this letter regarding the Cameo. Vince sent this letter about the Cameo accounts. And basically the talent have to sign this letter. It's basically they're saying that WWE is their authorized representative. They authorize Cameo to make all payments and other compensations to WWE. Cameo will not be made a party in any dispute between the talent and WWE, and the authorization can be canceled at any time, but only if the account is canceled. So if you don't agree to this, you have to cancel the account.
This is absurd. This is such a I don't even know what to call it, but this just feels like such a violation of a right, big time.
It feels petty and
petty, yes, and cheap.
You know, and I mentioned this Friday, but it makes me think of an episode of Alice when Mel got mad at Alice because she had a night job singing in a lounge, and Mel didn't want his waitresses moonlighting, and she pointed out, if you don't want me to have to work a second job, pay me enough for my first job, and then I won't have to do extra work on the side.
Mark is saying don't sign it. Well, if you don't sign it, you got to get rid of it, or you're fired from the company. It's easy to say that, but
of course it's easy to say that because you're not the one in the situation putting food on the table for your family as the wrestler, but. This is super petty. Come on. Like, you're going to get rich over this, Vince? No. What are you doing?
I mean, people do make serious money. And I think what it is.
Not enough to look like this. This is a big hit. I'm not reading the news and stuff like that, so I may be way out of the loop here. I have to assume he is getting killed. I'm hoping he's being killed in the media over this, right? Please tell me.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. As independent contractors.
So that is not worth it. That's not worth it to me. That wouldn't be worth it.
Have you seen WWE promote AJ Styles' Twitch account once anywhere?
No, but they will now. I'm sure.
Yeah.
No, you know what they're going to do? Let me tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go to Twitch and say, if you want our talent on your platform, you're going to give us an advance, and we're going to get better deals and better rev share. They're going to step in and probably ruin it, where Twitch is going to say F off, and then they're going to go all start streaming on Tout.
I think they're going to take over all their social media eventually. I'm telling you, a slippery slope.
They tried to take social media back when Twitter launched. Wasn't that the case, Raj? They wanted logins to talent social media at one point, and they all pushed back.
So Ryback, he showed his agreements where they were saying they own the social media accounts, they want all the logins, and he shared the contract online where they were asking for that.
Dustin Eck, $10 saying Ninja makes $5 million per month streaming a Twitch video. Something about my generation, millennials, that would like to see people play games and just hang out, talk to them. Guys, why are we doing this podcast? Let's go on Twitch and play some Mario Brothers.
I got Pitfall. I'll put on Pitfall.
So what do you mean talk to them? You can talk to AJ Styles?
It's and they have versions like Super Chats.
It's like Super Chats, yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I thought this probably came to their attention.
I'd be annoyed you're interrupting me playing my damn game.
Well, AJ was a little loose-lipped sometimes, and I think that stuff made news. That's true.
I did see a couple of those, right?
Yeah, he admitted he had COVID or tested positive for COVID. There were a couple other things.
Or I thought the bigger news was him being pissed off at Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that. And that AEW had contacted him. He was almost going to sign with AEW.
AJ. I love AJ. That's awesome. He's come so far, really. To see him being, just not giving a bleep.
Right.
That's cool to see because I told you the opposite side of the spectrum where he started his career with. Will he ever get an opportunity in WWE, the land of the Giants? Probably not. It was his opinion of it, and now look at him. Shot calling. And calling them out. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Yep. So interesting time in the world right now, and wrestling is no different.
It needs to be, but it needs to be. this is where we're all supposed, not to sound like a corny guy here, but like, this is the place we're supposed to be able to go and be safe and get away from all the bullshit that's happening in our world, literally today as we speak, you know, and around this. We're supposed to be able to go here and watch good guy versus bad guy, cops versus robbers. Well, let our minds just go blah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why Vince is the ultimate heel.
Because he's taking that from us, from the ability to be able to go do that when we watch wrestling and get out of our minds and forget about what's going on in society.
And here's the craziest shit about all of this, right? Is then look at Retribution. It's like Vince wants to try and own the angle of retaliation against Vince. You know, it's like a good example. Remember when Limp Bizkit and Insane Clown Posse were making fun of NSYNC and Britney Spears and acts like that? Yes. They're all on the same record label. The same record label's making all the money, no matter which side you're on, of the hate. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at that, and it's just, it's the same thing. So with Retribution, I tweeted this the other day, until Retribution starts following Andrew Yang on Twitter, like, they don't got a leg to stand on. Like, it's all work.
That's funny.
Well, the fact this is a different conversation for a different day, but they would sign them to contracts. What kind of shitty storytelling?
It was cheaper than hiring more security, Raj.
Right.
All right.
Well, on that note, we're going to be back here, guys, in 24 hours talking about Monday Night Raw. What is Retribution going to do? Tune in to find out.
They're not going to do anything yet. They're still in quarantine. So
I think some lights will flicker.
There might be some lights.
There might be a logo flashed.
Yeah.
We'll see. He's at BP Matt Morgan. Matt, glad you're back. Hope you feel better. He's at Raj Giri _303. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. We'll see you back here tomorrow night on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.